Morning.
Morning, Squire. How are you?
It's been ages.
I know. Been forever.
It was yesterday. When I interviewed you and you interviewed me.
Yeah. But
in real life, in podcast world, that was 2 weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks ago. And it just, like you said, seems like yesterday. So today we have got a guest coming.
We have got a guest
upstairs. Young Paul Brazier, 28 years in at Abbott Mead. We were going to have to go through in an hour.
Is that? I mean, we're like a challenge. Yesterday we had no work to go through. 2 weeks ago we had no work to go through when I interviewed you and you interviewed me. And today we've got 956 pieces of work to go through. So
and also. I'm worrying that Braze will also start talking a little bit about his time before Abbott, which we want to hear about at Abbott Mead. But you're going, but it's the bulk of it.
This really hurts you, doesn't it? It's like you like to do the timeline, but we're gonna have to jump a whole section.
Yeah, we're gonna have to be strict. So I would urge you to kick me if time's running short.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you the eyes.
Oh, mate.
Just going to give you the eyes. Oh, no.
Lucky.
It wasn't those eyes.
If I was Kelly, I'd be a happy man. No, woman.
Oh, you do know him.
Right, off we go. Paul Brazier, or Braze, as you're affectionately known in the industry.
Yes.
Welcome to Behind the Billboard.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for coming on. I'm going to do a few Braze facts. This is where we big you up. So, like
Braze facts.
Braze facts. So, 28 years at Abbott Mead Vickers as creative director, executive creative director, CCO, and chairman. Which is pretty impressive.
That's
right?
pretty impressive.
So during this time, you and your creative department amassed, we can't list them out, it'll take us forever, but there's more awards than we can shake a stick at. But we were going to mention, this must be a record, 239 entries into D&AD. That's a lot. So 239, that is, it takes quite a long time to actually say that. So that's incredible. And I imagine that must have gone quite a way to you then becoming the D&AD President in 2010. Another accolade very few in our industry have risen to. And then now you're on our podcast. So
you can drop the mic and say advertising completed it.
Boom. So how are you, Paul? How are you today?
I'm very well, yeah.
Good.
And thanks for inviting me
mate,
here.
Pleasure. What we always ask our guests at the beginning, what you've been up to, what your latest, because you're not at Abbott Mead anymore.
No. I only went there for a
couple of weeks.
I went there I thought I'll go there for a year. I mean, it was amazing because I got hired by David Abbott and
that's good
himself. But I thought I'll go there with Pete Suter. I would imagine his name will crop up a few times.
Peter has actually sat exactly where you are.
Yes.
There's a residue, I imagine.
Okay. In the small
yeah,
booth.
Peter went
in the small booth.
Well, we've both been relegated to the small. Apparently, there's a master
it's a
booth that everyone goes in. We got the small one.
Yeah, this is where we like to be close with our closest friends.
Yeah.
So, I thought I'd go there for a year. It'd be fantastic on my CV. I mean, it's such a heavyweight department of all the work they've done.
Yeah.
I never, you certainly wouldn't take for granted that you could survive there for that long.
Mm.
I thought, get in there, keep my head down, just learn as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I was at AMV for 28 years, but in truth, it wasn't just AMV, it changes. Agencies change. So it feels like you've moved agencies every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
I mean, eventually it did become AMV BBDO, but it's always, the agency itself was learning.
Yeah.
I guess clients changed, there was growth, there was acquisitions and mergers.
Well, when you think that AMV started really as a with David Abbott, he was print, one of the best copywriters, of all time, and so well regarded in the industry, not just the agency, but it was a print-based agency with amazingly heavyweight copywriters. So I thought going there would be fantastic to learn, see, and then I could witness that basically seeing even the change in AMV, where, believe it or not, the whole industry thought AMV couldn't do TV at one point. Of course it was doing TV, but I think then the criticism was that a lot of the TV was kind of print-based. It was driven by the visuals, almost like billboards.
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. But over time, and then BBDO came along. Tom and Walt were there, of course. Who, they did Guinness Surfer, they did Dunlop, Volvo.
Yeah.
I mean, groundbreaking work that didn't just raise the bar. Well, it raised the bar in AMV. So everyone really was competing with them and wanting to prove that they could do TV as well. So it just raised the bar for everyone. But Tom and Walt were there. Actually, I always say Tom and Walt, but if I mention them, I should give credit to the teams they built as well. And like the production team, Yvonne Chalkley was instrumental in making things happen for them.
I remember as a kid, sorry, we're jumping around a bit, but I went in there with Adam and showed our book to Tom and Walt, and they had the smallest office I've ever seen. Yeah. Like it was probably like this. And I don't know if it was a purposeful thing, right? But it was chaos. But
it was scruffy.
Amongst everything, they were like canned lions and D&AD pencils, as if they were like,
I think they were strategically placed.
And it was brilliant.
Sorry, Tom and Walt.
Yeah, but and I was thinking, and we came out going, did you see, like, even if I had one pencil, I'd have it on a sort of plinth, and it was just thrown in by his sandwiches.
No, they were all strategically placed, and there happened to be a little lamp lighting it up like it, and it struck your eye. But it was a mess in there. You were lucky to find your way out.
They were so strange as well because we didn't have a job. We were desperate to get a job, and we'd shown our book everywhere. And then Walter actually, it sort of made our career. He said, you should make these Harley Davidson ads. I know someone who could shoot them. And we're like, what? Couldn't get our heads around it. It said just 3 storyboards. And then he said, no, I'll get someone to make them for you. It's like, we walked out going, what's he on about? And then it happened. So Walter got us some from Stark Films, Joe Public. They shot them, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Amazing.
But we should stick. Let's stick with what you're up to at the moment, Paul, because we'll come back to Abbott in a minute.
At the moment, so I'm not at AMV now, as you said. I've set up my own consultancy.
Mm-hmm. What's it called?
Where it's COEX London.
COEX.
Which I started with my partner, Andrew Pincus, who is a sort of, strategy planner, but with a digital background. And I approached him, actually, and I always enjoyed working with him at AMV. We just couldn't get to work together enough. So I thought, when I'd left AMV, I thought, let's have a conversation with him.
Right.
Actually, he'd set up his own thing, so it wasn't even, the timing wasn't right for that. But eventually I managed to, with my usual determination, and got in there and talked to him and said, I think we could do something. So
what is it you offer?
Well, it's a consultancy where the idea is that we pretty much moved from working with advertising clients as such, marketing departments. We work directly, or more so, with CEOs and founders.
Okay.
Although, surprisingly, ad agencies have still contacted us or referred us, and we get involved there. But it's called COEX basically because of coexistence. So the idea is it's just me and Andrew. We don't have any overheads. We both work from home. I live in Islington, as you know. Mm-hmm. Andrew lives in Wimbledon, so we very often just meet in Hyde Park and have a walk around and chat and create ideas that way.
North meets south.
Exactly, yeah. And so it's I love to learn, and that was why I stayed at AMV for so long, because there was always a new challenge around the corner. And this time now, when you do your own business, you've just got to learn everything. So all the times when I had armies of people to do my own presentations and Illustrator, Photoshop, all the things you're doing. I mean, it's all AI now, isn't it? So much of AI. So anyway, you just get to be a sponge again and learn so many things. So enjoying doing that. Yesterday I was doing a line drawing for Doves for Peace. Funny enough, I did because I did a poster for Doves for Peace. The background to that is Doves for Peace is an initiative by my secondary school art teacher, who I adored, and she, back then put an arm around me and really encouraged me.
What's her name, sir?
Claxton, Dorothy Claxton. Mm-hmm. It took me many years not to call her Miss Claxton.
Yeah. Classic.
So Dot. And we've stayed in touch over the years. And I did a poster for her. And all these things get auctioned off. The idea is that they're not generally done by artists, although she's had some big name artists donate these images, but they're always a drawing, an illustration, a representation of a dove.
Okay.
Doves for peace, and then they get auctioned off. And it's all auctioned by a guy who's on the Antiques Roadshow.
So you did one.
So I did
recently.
a poster, and then
Looks
she
great,
loved it so much, and then she said, they were up and running. She said, actually, I want to use that as my logo. So that became their logo.
Wow.
It's typical.
So it was a poster turned into a logo.
And that's so typical of a lot of the things they end up doing. I've been designing logos again recently.
That's
Yesterday
so
I was
funny.
doing a one-line drawing for that. So Doves for Peace, what I would say, and one of the big reasons to mention Doves for Peace actually is that the industry, a lot of people in the industry actually are working with celebrities. And so what Doves for Peace does is it doesn't really target artists. It focuses on celebrities.
Right.
So if anyone's working with a celebrity, get them to do a doodle on a napkin, anything.
Oh, I
do a
see.
doodle of a dove. And then get it to, you could send it to me,
Clever
but get
idea.
it to Doves for Peace and they'll auction it off. Even if it makes 150 quid, it's,
Brilliant.
and I've ended up over the many years getting loads of celebrities, all the illustrators, everyone just.
So whenever you're on a
dove.
shoot or something, get the celebrity on the shoot to do it, and then
That's very
we'll
cool.
put the email address on the on
that
the
would be
feed
great,
here.
yeah.
So we'll get it off you afterwards, and we'll put it on the feed.
I think, I remember I was listening to Pete's podcast, and basically, he's a shameless advertising person, and you just use it to promote as many people as you can. So there's a theme here.
So, right. So we're going to jump into the billboards.
Well, let's start at the billboard at the end of my street. So I see you've.
Sorry, I was going to say I was doing All Creative.
All
as well.
creative,
Should
go on, do
mention
that.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Allcreative.com, which is going live, I think maybe today or relaunching today. It's a website that I created to help young creatives get going.
Okay.
So I noticed many years ago, around the time when I was starting to be the D&AD President, that all brilliant, all the top creatives in the country. I don't mean in advertising and design. I mean like whether you're a fashion designer, you're a leather craftsman, whatever.
Yeah.
All these top creatives are basically going to their local schools or trying to give something back to the school they went. So they go in and do a talk. And I thought, wow, I could see all of these happening. Why don't we just film them? Why don't we just film these interviews? And a little bit, like you're doing now, but they were filmed and they would all go on this website. Anyway, I ended up getting Paul Smith, Sir Paul Smith, Jamie Oliver.
Wow, brilliant.
All the, Nick Park, top creatives just to give their feedback. Then I dipped down into a tier of people that had just got their first jobs. So that, like a lot of things that went wrong in COVID, that came offline around that time, but it's relaunching again.
Oh, cool.
That's called allcreative.com.
Oh, that's
so that's
brilliant,
been
mate.
keeping me busy as
I will put that up as well.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So,
So this morning on your way here, I see you've taken a photo of the billboard at the end of the street, which is a 6-sheet poster on a bus stop.
Yes. That's just literally down the road from me on Cali Road. Actually, it makes it look like it's a really smart area, doesn't it? It's a lovely sunny day. It's always sunny around there.
So what are we thinking of this? It's McDonald's. What's the line say, Paul?
It's a McDonald's ad, and it says what a wake up call, and then there's a picture of the product. Now
And a price point.
I didn't choose that for any, it was just for the fact that it was there, and that's the bus stop I get on.
Exactly.
So that's the bus stop I get.
What does it say at the bottom there, Hugh? Underneath?
Something about, I'll just have a look, breakfast done properly. So, I mean, it's an ad, right? It's decent.
It's an ad.
It's
and
not shit. We've had shit. We've had loads
It's got
worse.
a clear pack shot. It's all, in fact, the blue sky is matching the blue sky in the background of that day, isn't it? And it all looks, incredibly coordinated with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the backdrop.
Yeah. So everything, but I wouldn't say, I haven't picked it out for any kind of creativity at all. I mean, McDonald's have got a brilliant history of heritage of great work. And I would imagine that piece of work looks to me like it didn't get through to whatever the creative department is or whoever does those things. They've probably repurposed something and got a relatively straight line out with a pack shot, and it's probably doing the job they need it to do.
There are a number of poster testing tools out there now. Some of them use AI, some of them use they go send out to sample. But this one looks like it's a pretty standard ad, right? It looks like a point of sale ad that's been moved into the out of home space. So I would imagine that has run through some of the poster testing tools that are out there, and it's scored very highly because it ticks boxes, right? It's the right size. You can read that headline. The logo's in the top right. There's a short copy line. There is a price point. There's a product shot. Yeah. So if you were going through that and, if you were uploading it to one of these tools and you're looking for those markers, it does what it needs to do. So if you're in the marketing department at McDonald's and you're looking to sell $1.99 coffees, and you upload that poster, you're going to get 5 green ticks, and you go, okay, that's good for my poster.
Yeah. When I was at Leo's, I didn't actually do much on McDonald's. I was mostly running co-op, but Dono, the typographer, was doing. You'd go over and say what you're up to, and he'd say, I'm doing these. And they would have tiers. I don't know how it's run now.
Oh, really?
But they have tiers of stuff, and they go, this is price point, exactly what you said. So it's kind of get it done. They're still good ads, as in they work. There's a headline, there's a pack shot and a logo. There's not like the dross we sometimes see. But then there was a level above it where you'd go, this is a creative opportunity.
Yeah.
So like we were talking a little bit earlier, about the creative version of this could be the alarm.
Yes.
Where we were talking.
We've just seen that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's been doing the rounds a bit. So we were all saying that would be the next level up, wouldn't it, of the creativity. And then above that, you'd have, there's something we featured on our socials the other day where the McDonald's price poster went outside of the poster. Yeah. Because it said, like, getting your money's worth.
Getting more for your money, yeah.
Which is a really creative idea, both media-wise and creative. So I suppose...
I can't help but look at posters and then my own version of.
I
was looking at it and thinking, why didn't they do it? Remember the alarm one? What if you took the coffee cup and the white head? Why don't you make it like the notification button and turns on in the way?
Dave Dye and Paul Belford. They would come in here, and we'll talk about Economist in one sec, but they would regularly. Right, moving on. So, Paul, we're going to go to your first billboard.
Yes.
Talk us through this. So it's for Epsom, is that correct?
It is. I mean, whether it really is the first billboard, I don't know. It's certainly the earliest one I could find that I did.
Great. You've got a copy of it.
But I'd got a reference of it somehow, and I think it was some sort of poster that must have been at, I don't know, the NEC or something. For an event going on there.
And what's happening in it?
What's it saying, that top corner? There's a poster there. There's actually a poster within a poster. So it's for the new Epsom black shutter LCD, which is kind of readable from long distances. And I've got Mr. Magoo, as everyone would remember Mr. Magoo now. And he's talking to a lamppost, and he says, Waldo. My eyesight's come back. So it's, the idea is that he can't actually see the lamppost, but he can actually see.
But he can read the poster.
But anyway, and it's interesting seeing that, because it just brought back all the, all the memories from that time. And what was
early AMV was this?
Oh no, this is.
Pre-AMV.
So this is. I didn't work at. I've worked at Cogent Elliott. Yeah. I was there for 4 years. I then went to WCRS for 4 years. I loved WCRS. I mean, I always talk about AMV and the creative department and everything we did there. I could talk equally as long about WCRS and Cogent. I loved them. Loved both agencies. But this was a... Sorry, my phone's ringing. This was a poster, and it just made me remember that some of the things I still do today is, and I later realised that Mark Denton and Chris Palmer did this. They got inspiration from cartoons. I was obsessed with cartoons.
Right.
I used to, look at cartoons. I'd look at the images. I'd try and cover up the caption and see if I could make up my own caption. To see how, good, how, could I write one?
It's like the New Yorker competition.
Tim Riley brought in his cartoon book as well as the inspiration for the John Smiths.
And I think it's, basically you're dealing with headlines and visuals. And a cartoon, and also a great thing with cartoons, which I think we've lost a lot these days, is there's humour in them. We're doing it all back to front, but one of my tips would be, try and think in terms of a cartoon.
I remember when I did the Watford, we are going backwards and forward, when I did the Watford copy test, God bless Tony Cullingham, and he sent out 15 things like, it was things like describe the inside of a ping pong ball to an alien. It's like, cheers, Tony. But, it's just showing your creativity. But one of them was exactly what you just said. It'd show you an image.
Yes.
And it'd say, right, 10 captions to this thing. So it's a bit like the New Yorker. You put your gag on. But you're right. It's a way of feeling into a situation, seeing the humour in it, seeing the wit, surprising people, which is all things we want to do.
Well, that's a good segue into The Economist, because they are famed for some of that and the kind of the visual gag.
So what we're going to do, Paul, we're going to jump into it. So for the listeners, sorry, we're going on a bit of pace because we know we've got a lot to cover.
We've got a lot to cover, and that's the thing, is that we went through your work in detail.
There's a lot.
And there is some stuff that we've been through with Peter.
There's so many things.
But what we're going to start, we'll start with The Economist. And actually, weirdly though, we're going to start with an Economist ad that you did not at Abbott Mead.
Yeah, this was while I was at WCRS, and I did it with my copywriter Mark Cooper.
So describe what we're looking at here, because I'm looking at a very long white out of red
96 sheet.
96 sheet, 248s next together, and he took the well-known I never read The Economist that David Abbott wrote, and then I put it right next to a Carling Black Label version of it. It says, I always drink Carling Black Label. And then underneath the caption is something like, let's have a look. I can't read it on there. Chairman of the board. I probably made it at a younger age. It should have probably been wittier, actually, and said, board of the chairman or something.
Chairman of the board, age 24. So you're already having a little pop at the account. How did that come about?
I think it was just showing awareness of AMV. They always say, copying is the best form of flattery, don't they? So I guess I thought, let's try and do something in that. It'll be bold. It'll be fun. We did loads of Carling Black Label posters. I can't find them. Whether they ever ran, I don't know, but that one did.
Yeah.
But it was also, as I say, with my copywriter, Mark Cooper, whether that Economist ad somehow led to Pete and I working together, because Pete, as we know, always, from the very early days of his career, wanted to work at AMV. And so Pete and I bonded, and eventually we became a team. And then, I remember us Pete and I putting a pneumatic together in the days of pneumatics, these massive like bricks of kind of tapes, and we drove down to the red building on the end of by the flyover, which is no longer there. Yeah, posted it through the door. Thinking, I think that afternoon we're thinking, David hasn't replied. What do we do? But eventually he did, and it was very promising, and he wanted to hire us. And then he disappeared for 6 months, and we thought, is he all right? Is he, I think actually, no, we were being really selfish. We were thinking, I hope nothing's happened to him because we want a job. Yeah. But eventually, we got hired. Pete and I got hired at AMV, which was, amazing. So I'm incredibly lucky. I started in Cogent Elliott, and they were amazing to me there. I was so lucky to get in there. I could spend half an hour talking about how I got in at Cogent. It's an hilarious story. I won't do that. Mm-hmm. But they nurtured me and looked after me. I eventually got to WCRS. And then they equally were very kind. Peter Harold, looked after me, helped me, kind of guided me and nurtured me. Right. And then eventually I got to, and that was a brilliant department.
WCRS was amazing.
Was there, there are all these massive names, David Horry and, even Axel and Steve were there in the next room. Finky was there. I could just name tons and tons of people that were there.
And then you end up actually working on The Economist as well.
Went and worked on The Economist, and then and it's interesting, this story. And I saw, I don't know if you actually put a version of this out. Did you put a version of this
I did a
together?
version with, I spoke to Dave Dye and he helped me put together a version where it said, I think it was advertising secrets for sale.
He glued all his fingers together trying to do it as well, by the way.
I talked to Dave about it and he's saying, how did you do it? Funny enough, at the time,
So we're talking about industrial secrets for sale for the listeners.
Yes.
We're looking at the brilliant version of it, and you're going to tell us how you did it.
How we did it, yeah. And
because you did it in an unconventional way, right?
Well, at the time, you don't realise it's unconventional, but looking back, it really was. So I think then, basically ads were done. David Abbott would write ads, and then he would give them to, Ron Brown, and it would be art directed, and it was created that way. I mean, Pete and I worked together for years. I mean, you become like a married couple. You kind of totally in sync. There's a point where you don't have to say much, and you kind of know what the other one's
You can just raise an eyebrow.
Sounds like my marriage.
And, we were, working on, I don't know, tons of RSPCA ads, Volvo. We just get,
Amazing.
Being eager, wanting to prove ourselves to David, wanting to prove ourselves that we could actually stay in that department. So lots of energy. I think there was always a brief around for the Economist. I can't tell you how many ads were rejected over the years since AMV. I've seen so many, must be kind of spam, spoof ads or kind of ads that weren't legit Economist ads that you go, they would have not made it through. I mean, there were, each heavyweight writer would write, I don't know, 60 of them that wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the brief came in. I remember that weekend seeing something on the TV. I think it was, the Iranian embassy. Or someone was basically getting lots of information from, taking all the files out of this building.
Right.
And I remember thinking that, God, it's an interesting kind of topical idea. They're obtaining all this information. There must be a link with that. Right. So obtaining, I don't know, even I'd have thought of the word, at that time, secret. I mean, obtaining, it wouldn't have been classified. So anyway, you kind of, I think there's something really in this. They're obtaining this valuable information that no one else can get their hands on. So I'll go to Pete and I go, and I think I even just drew the scribbles. I said, imagine this is all shredded up, and almost, I don't think I'd even finish my sentence.
Right.
He put down a line which was industrial secrets for sale.
Right.
I thought, what? Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Then you think, okay, we're done. Then I went through the agony of trying to work out how to put it together. So immediately I went off, tried loads of shredders. I mean, they just, what they should do, if you've got a proper shredder, they shred it apart. So you can't, it would be a useless shredder if you could actually read.
Yeah, they don't actually shred like that anymore, do they? Like cross-shred, turn it into mush.
I don't think they ever did. Even the Banksy one that he did recently, where I don't know if you'd ever seen this.
It's a myth, isn't it?
That Banksy, but I think that was a proper. It wasn't actually a shredder because you could see the image.
But in Argo, the movie, they put it together. Anyway, keep going. Keep going. Sorry,
so I thought I'll try and put this together with a shredder, having done this scribble. Oh my God, this doesn't work. I'm in a bit of trouble here.
Fuck.
And then you try and get the best ones of that and paste it down, and you think, well, actually, the problem we've got here as well is not only is it just a mess, but it's all essentially pixels because it's a photograph.
Right.
I thought, well, the Economist ads aren't. They're flat. I mean, I don't think I'd have used the words in those, of vectors, but it's kind of almost like a vector, not a pixel file. So I thought, well, it's got to be this flat image. I was drawing them out on little Post-it notes because they're the proportions of, kind of a poster. I thought, I'll draw it out on this. I kind of realised early on, I thought, well, all the proportions are going to be wrong as well. If we set a conventional Economist poster, 6 sheets, then we cut it, just becomes square. It just looks really strange. So then I had to set it all tight and get all the the
that was my problem.
right in order to know that it would end up being the right proportion. Yep. Then, once I got that, I mean, we were in the days still of using the studio hadn't gone digital by then. In fact, I disappointed a magazine because they wanted to do an article on how difficult it would be to do this in the old days and how much easier it is now doing it on. Yeah. But anyway, at the time, I had to say to them, I didn't do it. I actually got
there was craft.
So we got a PMT, and I worked out all the dimensions, and then I actually in the studio, I scalpelled it out. All those years of being at art college and scalpelling out my window mounts and everything and cutting out art.
And then so you scalpelled it. Sorry, because I'm very quickly going to say, because I found when I tried to replicate it, I went next door to my neighbour who had an old school guillotine, and I cut it all up, and I realised it's fucking really hard, obviously, because I'm not an art director at Abbott Mead Vickers. But it was
I think I did try that as well. But the guillotine makes it curl.
But also my neighbour, I put it through a shredder, had the same thing as you. It cuts it across and long ways. Anyway, so you go into the typography design, you get it done. Then how do you stick it down?
Yeah, it all gets glued. It all gets stuck onto.
And did you do loads of versions of it, or was this one? And you thought,
once I did tons in the sense that it all worked out on Post-it notes on smaller versions. Then I did it all, worked it out on a shredder. Then I worked it out. None of the shredders worked. Then thought, well, I've got to try the guillotine. It just will not stay straight. It curls all the edges.
So how did you fix it?
So in the end, I thought, God, okay, then really I've got to do it in the old artwork way, which is kind of how you do it as a vector. If you were doing a vector file now, but you would. So I got it made as a PMT in all to the proportions that I wanted, and then sliced up the PMT. I'm saying PMT. It's kind of a.
So it's not going to go curly. It's going to sit.
Yeah, it's kind of like artwork.
It's got a bit of plastic.
It's like a photo, a heavyweight.
So it's not going to curl. And then you shot a photo of that.
Well, that all goes through. Artwork. Then it became artwork because that's how artwork was reproduced.
But did you glue it down to a surface, or did you let it sit
onto board? I don't even know whether polyboard existed then. I doubt whether it did. It would have gone onto an.
So did half the department say, "Where's Paul Brazier?" and said, "Oh, he's downstairs cutting up bits of paper."
I spent ages I used to love going down into our. They're always in the basements, aren't they? The studio. I would spend ages sitting with the guys because all the designers were down there as well.
I have to say, we are very lucky that you did do that, because it is one of the most iconic images we've seen, the whole industry's seen, and I think for that we've spent a lot of time on it. But it's very important to talk about how you did it, because I think at the time, this is the last bit on it, there's a lot of white headlines that I've read, and then after a while people were going, can it move on? Yes. Can it do something? And I remember this being one of the first ones, and I thought, fuck, they've done it. They've done something. And he also did a black and white version one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right, we've got to move on.
Yes.
We're going to be racing through. So
we raced through some of those. I mean, there's a slide, I don't know where this will be included, but it just shows you these are the ones that I did. So, I was trying to do kind of a lot of exploration visually.
So talk us through these briefly.
Oh, there's one that says make an impression, so you kind of work out what would be a way of getting a kind of an impression from something that's written. Yeah. And you scribble over it and then get it there. The bottom one, the big 96 sheet, again there, the symbol is of, if you look in the symbol of maps, it's viewpoint. So I thought, well, that's lovely. That one. We'll just have viewpoint. I mean, all of these, you think, God, they could all be, they could all rise and become like the ad, and then they don't. They just become one of the many.
And what was this special build? A very big special build.
Yeah, that's what's the headline?
Makes white collar.
Makes
white collars brighter.
Oh yeah, so it's kind of linking with that kind of, I don't know, kind of the language then of washing.
And then it's folded down into a shirt.
Yeah. So the 6 sheet neatly folded down, almost like a Man United.
Yeah, well, that's nice to see. United getting a mention.
All right, well, maybe it's not.
And then I think we're going to have to race through these, but there was a brief. How would you call this? Brief sojourn into black, white and red on black.
The Economist. I mean, it was a long process, but the Economist posters became a massive challenge, where the brief in the end became don't do a white out a red poster.
Just when you want to do one. Yeah.
And so, really difficult. And then you kind of think, well, and actually I've done this on a number of accounts where you think, well, actually, let's make sure we can do something that we love, but maybe we can find, bide our time, and we'll get back to doing and obviously the white out of red campaign, it had just won so many awards. It didn't make anyone want to move on to, so it made you behave, in a retrospective way that you just wanted to carry on doing those forever.
Yeah.
And of course the industry doesn't work that way. But Mark Fairbanks and Paul Cohen created this print and poster campaign. And I think they, beautifully written lines. My favourite one was the one of the little the young child on top of all of the typography. I'll get Hugh to read that headline out.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. What's the worst thing to lose as we get older? Our hair, our teeth, our curiosity.
Yeah, lovely. I thought lovely,
on
really
top of the pile
that.
of type as a
and
kid.
And then beautifully art directed. Now, of course, it's never going to be as, loved as the white out of red work. But there's a point when you go, okay, I get it. We've got to move on. Let's do some posts. I think what a fantastic job they did. And also really leaned into that challenge because
they're great. I looked on,
get a lot of thanks for doing
I looked on Mark's website the other day. He's got some amazing work. Right, we're going to move on just for a one-offer, cancer research.
I mean, I've worked with looking back, I've worked with quite a few people. So obviously, Tim Riley, worked briefly with Tim Riley.
Tim was on the show,
we did a wall campaign together. On this one,
this is for cancer research, isn't it?
Research, yes. But also, I don't know, I don't know whether it was all about curiosity, but I wanted to link up with Michael Johnson, the designer.
Yeah.
As in Johnson Banks?
Yeah, Johnson Banks, yeah. I mean, you end up knowing through D&AD, you end up knowing all the top designers as well. Yeah. And actually I mentioned Michael, but then I feel guilty because I should mention all the other brilliant designers. But anyway, I worked with Michael on this, and just this image just came to the Tom, and I thought, wow, that's a great poster.
So, what is the image? Describe that image to us.
It's a microscope that looks, which is all about, the microscope links to all the research that's done for cancer research, and then it kind of looks uncannily like a revolver.
You turned it on its side,
and so I thought that's a great image. Let's. I mean, somewhere in the mix, probably. I mean, Tim's a great writer. He may have created the visual, or Michael may have done it. I can't remember now, but I know we were all working on it. Let's just get some. This is a good post, and we got some work out that I was really, really pleased.
And the line says, "Research kills cancer," which, I mean, I don't think there's anyone who hasn't been affected by cancer. And I looked at this the other day and I just thought, oh God, it's so brilliant because you should run that today. You should run it everywhere.
It's a timeless classic, that is.
Yeah. And it's sort of got both things. It's really arresting. Yeah. It's quite emotional for everyone to understand.
And in 3 words, Tim nailed that I love the language of it because, I think research, that is the subject matter. That's a bit dry, isn't it? But putting the word kills in the centre of that and the subject matter is cancer. So
cancer kills.
Research kills cancer. Right.
Well,
wow,
it feels,
nailed it.
It's really interesting because it feels like we've become more in charge rather than the cancer being in charge. And it's wonderful, isn't it? Like you say, 3 words. Posters really can change the way you think about things. And when I do my swims for charity, it's either cancer research or Macmillan I do it for because my mum died of cancer, and I always feel so good about doing that. It should never end. Right, we're going to move you on, sir. We're going to take you to jumping lanes.
I've got lots of stories for Aer Lingus.
This is good.
This is I thought a very bad pun last night, but a plane load of celebrities because Aer Lingus beautifully art directed, super simple, left-hand side headline, right-hand side wicked, black and white shot of celebrities. Spill the beans.
And you get influenced, don't you, by certain work. So I think probably that I'd seen some I don't know whether it was Vince Frost's work, but anyway, you get influenced by certain work. The designer who did this then told me this had influenced the way he designed that Tesco campaign with the horizontal. So it's weird. It's interesting, isn't it? How work that you wouldn't really
inspires other work.
Inspires others, yeah.
But was why were there so many celebrities? Was that from the beginning, the get-go, the idea? Was that that they wanted that you could do that?
Raise the level of Aer Lingus, and also what became obvious was that every day of the week, all the famous Irish celebrities were choosing Aer Lingus to travel backwards and forwards, and everyone just knew that, but didn't really focus on it. And, I think previously they'd just done airline ads. And we thought, well, no, you've got this, kind of kudos from people, with essentially endorsements. These people are choosing you. So let's create this campaign. And then, and it's interesting because I was trying to plot the history of where I was at in AMV at this point. So in this campaign, Pete Suter would have been the creative director then. I was then working. I was working on my own for a time. For this campaign, I began the campaign working with Dave Hyatt, who started Howie's, and a lot of people got involved with Howie's.
Yeah, Howie's great.
And then the Do Lectures.
Right.
And anyway, there's another promotion for Dave Hyatt and the Do Lectures and Hyatt Jeans. And then I also then, during that period, some of the ads I did with Nick Worthington. Right. So it spans quite a period of time. And then and there might have been a time then after that, then I became the chief creative officer.
And so what were the stories behind these celebs?
God, they're lovely. I mean, I'll keep them brief because I could spend ages talking about it. But Spike Milligan, I mean, actually now the joke is, it says, sorry, I can't read your... I can't read.
It's a picture of Spike Milligan looking like he's dead, saying the late Spike Milligan, and then the next slide says the late Spike Milligan, not likely, and he's woken up.
So obviously he was alive.
Yes.
Then. And so it wasn't some sort of sick joke. And he was a sort of lenticular, I think. Now the digital poster would easily do it, wouldn't it? But I think it was a lenticular.
No, lenticulars on the way back. They're coming back. Loads of people loving them.
But I thought, wouldn't it be great to have, Spike's just got this, had this amazing mind, didn't he? Of, funny kind of, just an extraordinary mind. And so I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could get him, be an unusual portrait as well, to get someone with their eyes closed. But the late Spike Milligan, then he says, not likely. And then his eyes are wide open. But yeah, I mean, I remember the photographer behind all of this was Robert J. Wilson.
Right.
And he's the son of Bob Wilson, the old
football player.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Arsenal goalkeeper.
That's amazing.
And I think that might have been where he started. I mean, he was a photographer, but I think he started exploring kind of all the avenues that his dad would probably open up to shooting footballers. Anyway, I loved his photography. He captured this like amazing, depth of field, the kind of glint in people's eyes, and I just loved them. Yeah. So I thought, let's get Rob to create these images. And actually, the only reason I would go along, not just I needed to help Rob get a photograph, all of the headlines were handwritten by the people themselves.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so,
lovely.
Which seemed like a good idea at the time, but it was quite challenging because some of
their handwriting.
Some are a joy, some of them you need to. But yeah, so it's all their handwriting, and so. But I remember Rob going round there to the house, and typically you say something to Spike Milligan, and he'll give you a quick back. So I think one of them was like Rob was making small talk and said, "How long have you lived here?" And Spike said, "Well, 5'8", like all the rest of the time in this house." and he's just constant on.
He's always
quips.
alert.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So
and so the
amazing.
next one down, you got Boy George.
Boy George, yeah. So that one, and again, all of the lines come out of, I don't know, something that you think is close to
cultural
them,
insight,
kind
yeah.
of cheeky, almost bordering on.
Yeah, because
You know,
the
when
Boy
you-
George one says, "Be the first to come out."
Yeah, and when you write, you write these lines and and then you're thinking, God, I don't know, it might be that they
Did they have to approve them?
Yeah.
And were they okay with them? Because some of them are quite close to the edge.
They are, but surprisingly, they had to approve them, and I knew they hadn't just like bashed them off because they had to write the headlines themselves.
There's one with Tara Palmer Thompson, which is No More Lines, which I think at the time she was having a very bad drug habit. And I thought,
is she going to write that one?
Was she going to do that?
There was a line about, someone fixing, a jockey about fixing meetings.
Yeah, that's... Well, one of the Nolan sisters are like this. Aer Lingus treat everyone like a rock star, even me.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, the levels of self-deprecation.
I know, and which
How
is
did you
one
persuade
thing.
them?
It's one thing someone doing that, but when you're actually doing it, it almost is an insult when you're doing it yourself for them to. But they all understood it,
and were they all in straight away? Was it?
Actually, there's one where I would say didn't. Where were the other? Fantastic story. Actually, the Roy Keane one.
Yeah, go on.
The Roy Keane one happened. I mean, and that was at Old Trafford. I generally wouldn't go to them if they were that far away. But I thought with Roy Keane, I can see what's going to happen here. We might get the photograph, but he's not going to write anything. His reputation, we probably won't get that line written by him. Anyway, we got there. It was at a time when... Actually, I'll tell you the sort of time it was. It was David Beckham had just had his kind of skinhead buzz cut.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So paparazzi were all around. We were in this kind of area to do this shoot, and Brooklyn Beckham had been left there with the nanny, and he kept coming across walking across the set. And I think Rob was getting a bit irritated by that. At one point, David came in and took Brooklyn away, and I don't know, made some sort of quip about the assistant's Geordie haircut. So there's always, fun banter going on.
Yeah.
Roy Keane, who I thought, this is going to be. A handful, because you kind of, even to this day, you see him.
He's full of it.
But thankfully, the night before the shoot, he'd scored in the Champions League.
Yeah, great. So be in a good mood, right?
And they won. And I think, how lucky was that?
Yeah.
So he was he must have been in a good mood. I say he must have been because you wouldn't have thought he had been in a game before and scored a fantastic volley in a Champions League game.
Really?
He plays everything down, super professional, polite.
He looks good, and the line is very funny. Late, me, never.
Yeah.
Again,
King of the late tackle.
Yeah.
Oh, king of the late tackle. But again, I thought, I think he probably prided himself on it and his reputation. But to put it out there and for him, and I think the trick was that these lines were written from them. They weren't, essentially, Aer Lingus saying that of them. It was from the celebrities.
I didn't know the thing about them handwriting. I love that. I mean, now I bet you people say, just get someone to mock it up. And it's really good.
I got them to do it. The Richard Harris one was fantastic. There's a Champions League link here because Richard Harris, who lived at the Savoy, insisted that we got a room, especially for the another room that he lived in for the shoot. We're kind of thinking, why is he doing that? Anyway, it turned out that the room he wanted was had a great big TV, and he could watch the Champions League.
Fair enough.
Just before we move on to the next one, just getting all of those celebrities involved, was it an easy thing to do? Was it something that Aer Lingus had a hand in already?
We had a brilliant art buying department, brilliant account people. I mean, these things, it's a machine really to try and get. My job would be to mock up kind of who I want to get and the kind of lines. And then you go through all the negotiations to try and get those people. Actually, there's one that isn't here, which is one of the stories I remember. But Vinnie Jones, I remember going to his massive house. In the window, there was this big it looked like he was standing there with these big shotguns in the window. As we got up closer, realised he was from the promotion, not stuck in smoking barrels.
Yeah.
And then eventually he came out. We then was, you try and make small talk and I don't know, be friendly and so on. We were admiring his a poster in his hallway, and it was a Sex Pistols poster, and signed by John Lydon.
Wow!
And but he was going, it's Johnny Rotten.
Right.
And we go, no, he signed it by John Lydon. He said, no, it's Johnny Rotten. And we're like, okay then.
Oh God, no, awkward.
And I don't know what, anyway, whatever you get. So we did that. Then he was saying, well, I hope you're going to be quick. I've got a tennis game in 15 minutes. And then he showed us to the smallest room possible. Anyway, eventually we got the photograph. And I can only think that we got back and he said, no, I'm not doing that.
Really?
I don't know what line I wrote, but it might be one of those where I did step over the line. And I can't remember the line.
Well, it was a line.
Looking back, I thought, we probably wouldn't have been self-deprecating.
It's interesting.
Image. It's all about image. For him at that time as well, that was about hard man status from ex-footballer to actor, right?
One of the lines was, it's been emotional, was, I remember, Lock, Stock. And then, his line, he had quite a few. Anyway, right. Those
so I did,
great
anyway,
stories.
It was difficult and they didn't, that one didn't come off. And, it all went well. I was disappointed because I thought, actually, he did warm up into it and he did.
It's
get
great.
his photograph done.
I mean, if you try to do that campaign now, I can't imagine how difficult it would be. Just anyway, the layers of stuff. Right, we need to speed up.
Yeah, we need to speed up. We've got
speeding up
15.
Yeah.
Right, so we're going to quickly talk about Think Road Safety. And I remember this campaign. TV and the radio were really brutal, and they just showed real accidents and real radio interactions between police. It was really, really chilling. I remember at the time.
Yes, on one we did Nick Worthington and I did a drink drive campaign where one evening we went around with the police. Thankfully, an hour before we went at the beginning of this night, an hour before someone had actually died. So thank goodness, I'm glad we missed that one. I don't know what the protocol would have been, but we didn't.
So you went round with the police
till the early hours of the morning, picking up drink drivers and going back to the police station and so on. And
is that quite shocking?
Yeah, I mean it's it's a real eye opener to what happened, for the reality of what happens when you're creating these advertising campaigns. So that was fascinating to go around with them. And then
is that the inspiration for this Accident Tonight post?
One of the facts, because I think if you can, there's a number of things I always insist on when doing kind of road safety ads, but if you can get a killer fact, a killer insight, it just helps you dramatise something. And very often they're in the brief. So they're amazing to just work with. And then you want clear calls to action, you want impactful imagery. But one of them, was is that it just seemed one of the facts was someone would die. I think they say something like, 300 odd people die every year, and you kind of go, yeah, that's a stat, isn't it? But when you think about it and write, no, someone is actually going to die tonight.
So what it is, it's a very familiar sign. It's those yellow warning signs.
Accident signs.
It says accident, and it normally has the date of when it happened, but it says tonight, which is the thing that absolutely stops you. I remember seeing this, and it's just underneath it says, one of you will be dead by tomorrow as a result of drink driving. It says, don't drink and die, with the R and the V ghosted out. It's just an amazing
could have been a
piece of
6-sheet
work.
poster, but I thought, it's actually nice. There probably was a 6-sheet poster as well, but in fact, it was all printed up as a 6-sheet poster. But we actually did put some of the
signs
big
out
signs out because I thought they look kind of special. And then just in case anyone, then the ones to the right, I don't know if anyone can see these slides, but the ones to the right there, on one side it shows this sign that says accident tonight, someone will die this evening, blah blah blah. On the back there's a fact on there which says, sorry Hugh, what does the fact say?
One of you be dead by no, accident tonight, location as yet unknown, police notice, and then one of you will be dead by tomorrow as a result of drink driving.
So they were all put on because little posters, they're beer mats.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, let's put those out in the pubs just in case anyone's thinking they're going to go out for a good time. We can bring them down.
Yeah. Right. Okay. We're going to move on. We're going to go to Wrangler now. So just to have a bit of an update, because you've done so much great work. So we're rushing a little bit. We don't want to rush too much. Just try and focus on the stories. But Wrangler, you did an incredible campaign with Elaine Constantine, the left and right, the photography, which was beautiful. We have talked about that with Pete, so sorry you can't talk about that. Yeah. And there was another slightly longer copy of
Rose Hill, all of that stuff.
Oh, great. But the one we're looking at now is what you did with Nick. Again, Nick Worthington, brilliant partner of yours. We must try and get Nick on, although he's in New Zealand, so that'd be quite an ask. Whatever you ride, Wrangler, and what it was. Well, tell us, because there's three of them.
We did 3 campaigns for them, actually. So one of them was Whatever You Ride. Another one was There's a Little Bit of the West in All of Us. And then I think it all began with something like 99 out of 100 rodeo riders wear Wrangler.
Right.
Right. This one that we're looking at with... it's interesting how you explore whatever you write, because basically what you're trying to say, the answer is to make it relevant to Europeans. Obviously, Wranglers are ridden by rodeo riders. Right. So you think, but we don't have many rodeo riders.
No, not I know of.
We do have people who ride things, in bikes, BMX, in skateboards, in cars and da-da-da. So how do we basically make that the answer? So what we were doing in this campaign was just creating imagery where the punchline, the thing that you imagine yourself is one of those things. It's something that's relevant to a European, whatever you ride. So it might be different kind of car. This one we're looking at is a cheeky one where it's, some people have keys. Someone might have a coat hanger to get a car going. And, I don't know, we got that one away. So there's the one before, but before that one, then there was, there might be all these oil stains in the car park, but one of them's of a horse
shit.
Yes, droppings.
Yeah, because what I like about it, it's subverting. So whatever you drive, then you get whatever you ride, because Wrangler, radio, etc. And then the fourth image is always something just not what we expect. So
twist it.
The one I do remember, I'm going to describe this one again. So whatever you is a crushed can, a crushed frog, and a crushed snake. And then the last one is, what is that? Isn't it a scorpion?
That's a scorpion in there, yeah. So it's just all different vehicles and different...
And it's squeezed into the tyre.
Yeah.
So, and then the next one, like you say...
They were probably photographs we may have got because we obviously went on for this campaign. We did that big shoot with Jonathan Glazer. Went off round.
Yeah. I remember the car leaping up and the fire.
Oh, so many.
By the way, Glazer. Has anyone seen Zone of Interest, by the way?
Yes, amazing.
What a film. What a film. Hey, we'll come back to that. Yes. Or we won't. We can't. I haven't got time. But I do remember just at the time also, because I was at BBH and Wrangler and everyone were trying to beat Levi's, and you just can't imagine how hard that was at the time. Levi's is just one of a fucking million denim brands. Yeah. But at the time, it was like, well, it's Levi's and there's a bit of Wrangler. And then I remember it being like the kind of, BA and Virgin, and Wrangler had that kind of...
The denim wars.
Yeah, and you could have that attitude. You're going, well, fuck it, we're going to go across America with Glazer and set fire to things. Fuck it, how can we... and I remember this campaign as well, thinking, things are changing in the jean world, and now we are just awash with them.
I remember coming back from D&AD from Brighton and then sitting on the train and listening to people had voted, and they said, "Oh yeah, and what was that Wrangler ad?" So that was good, wasn't it? They obviously hadn't voted for it, and then someone said, "It's a Jonathan Glazer ad," and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we should have voted for that." God, no. Anyway,
let's move on and grab a pint of Guinness.
But sorry, yeah. So, but the thing on Wrangler, obviously, Wrangler. Nick did all the Levi's, was
Nick Worthington,
a lot of Levi's ads. And
he did Drugstore, which is one of the greatest ones of all time.
Put us, Nick and I, together for a pitch. This was the first thing we ever did for Lee Jeans. And we got on so well, and we produced this great campaign. It was so brilliant, and we didn't win. but I think Pete thought, well, you know what? That's kind of that went well. Let's keep them
testing ground, wasn't it?
Let's keep them together, and then we carried on doing some work together. We kind of got on well. And then eventually we got round to doing all that road safety work, the Wrangler work. And
Nick worked with Gorsey, and they were just a fabulous team. I remember at BBH, they were literally the gold standard. And they were so humble and said, "Oh yeah, we've just done this thing for Polaroid. Not sure if it's very good." It was like Michelle Gondry. It was anyway. Dan's just kicked me, which is a sign.
Yeah, gotta go.
Right, very quickly on Guinness. Yes. So you did these very nice Guinness ads where
these are Hugh and Gary.
Hugh and Gary.
Hugh and Gary did the Guinness ads.
Okay, Hugh, can you tell us their full names? Hugh
and Gary.
Because I'm best mates with my mate Gaz, so that could have been me and Gaz.
Gary Walker, Hugh Williams.
Oh, well done.
But don't do that to me again.
Isn't Hugh Williams one of the... He's not one of the Chemical Brothers, no.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah,
that's it.
Brilliant. No, it's not.
No, it's not. No, there is a guy, a creative. Anyway, but the one thing on this, right? So these are lovely, but we just spotted.
Yeah, that one.
Dan, go for it.
So we were talking about this upstairs, weren't we? And there was a social post from Guinness pre-Christmas 2023 where they were selling boots that left footprints of Guinness shapes in the snow.
Called foot pints.
Foot pints.
And I
saw that.
Hugh and Gary and you should have some kind of credit, because what we're looking at is a poster of these footsteps going into the pub, and they all have little pints of Guinness. So I don't know.
I know, and candy. I guess they must have been. Well, maybe were they aware of this work? I don't know. They may not.
They
have
must have been. I mean, it's an ad. They must have gone, "Oh, let's take that ad and turn."
Although I mean, like Shish Patel did a thing for Marmite with a baby scan and the baby going, and then more recently that's come through with more developed. So let's just say they're nice coincidences.
Inspired by,
but also, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it shows how much you can do with an idea, doesn't it? So I guess looking back, they did do that. Maybe we could have done that at the time. We just didn't spot that opportunity to.
And there wasn't a can line for promotional item either back then, so there is now.
Didn't have the incentive. Yeah.
So we now want a retrospective lion for the creative team and Paul Brazier, please.
We're more interested in the royalties if there are.
Yeah. Fuck those bits of metal.
I'll take a piece of that boot, thank you.
Yeah. Right.
It's terrible. All my awards are in there. I've got this little valley loft in Islington, and I thought I couldn't move these boxes the other day, and I realised they're full of awards. I mean, what do you do with them? Yeah. No one wants them kind of cluttering up the house. So.
Well, I had Droger and Tuts. They had rooms dedicated to the awards. Just walk in.
Oh, no, I'm going to do a Tom and Walt. I'm going to have to mess up our house and then strategically place these.
One in the toilet.
Well, that's a grand
behind the door in the toilet. So when someone's sitting down, they see it. Yeah.
So we've got two more. Museum of Childhood. We just touched upon this briefly because we know that we did actually talk to Mike Nicholson on the show, and Paul had been involved.
Yeah.
But these are three. I mean, one thing I was going to say about this was you've done so much brilliant work, Paul, with either yourself, your partners, or your department. But the thing I can't
take any. I mean, you don't take credit for the the teams. In this case, what I wanted to say was just the level of craft you probably imbue your teams with, or whether, because these are like all the work, they're beautiful, they're just absolutely flawless. So you must be quite a strict sort of, craftsman yourself to say, I want them. Oh, I am, yeah. But on the other hand, as an AMV, which I think had, some of the world's best art directors and world's best writers. So you kind of, it's a given. It's like you're playing at Man City and say you've all, got a good touch, and you go, well, you better had or you won't.
Did you say Man City or United? I couldn't quite hear you.
Oh, Wolves, actually, is what I kind of meant, wasn't it? And Neto. If you've got to have that touch of Neto, that's in there, everyone's thinking, who is that?
Right.
But anyway,
so nice DJ League football. We're going to finish.
Sorry, and what I should say on that last campaign, Paul and Mike, I think that was their initiative to get that, that going. But again, that's a kind of given because you need teams with drive, being proactive,
entrepreneurial,
do it. And also, probably, they wouldn't have to do it, probably wouldn't be able to do it alone. You've got to get some teams around you to help account people, so on.
Paul's a very good illustrator, though. He did have that. I actually just saw him on Instagram.
Well, I was going to mention
morning.
This was the one that Inner Child one. I think was the first one. It had massive success anyway. I think he'd been doing illustrations before that. I mean, I used to see him, from the kind of beginnings of his illustration, thinking, he's got his, he's got.
The headline says adults must be accompanied by inner child, which is a lovely line.
It's a great line.
It's a great
brilliant
visual.
line. Again, almost like, sophisticated cartoons, but great visuals, great headlines working together. But this was where I could see Paul really getting into his illustration. Perfecting it and to a level where you go, actually, you've gone from, you're not mocking this up as a concept now. You've gone to the level of this is good to go. And so, Paul.
Well, he's a very
pate on toast. He goes, but Paul Pateman, and another shameless promotion for Paul Pateman because a brilliant illustrator, not just an illustrator though. You can see he's an ad man. He's
a listener. He listens.
He does listen.
He comments and likes lots of our posts as well.
So we're going to end with Gary Lineker.
Quickly. Oh yeah, well this represents. I think Sonny and Milo.
Tweet.
Yeah, Sonny and Milo did this one. I was always fascinated in not just how billboards are billboards. Now that you see down on Piccadilly, there's all these massive kind of 3D billboards. I love challenging the conventions of things, and that's why I did the drink drive one. Oh yeah, the one where I don't know whether we covered that one, but someone was peeing on a little poster and it took away on the word drive, the word die is hidden in it. So the heat. The heat sensitive, so the heat of your pee made the letters disappear, and it revealed the word die in drive. So I've always been interested in how you change conventions, how you do one conventional thing, you do another that's slightly different. This one we had a load of. We've been doing a load of work for Walkers. The TV is kind of more famous, but we did this tweet to eat. And although I guess it would be X to eat now, wouldn't it? It's not quite. Anyway, but we thought, well, let's get Gary Lineker in a vending machine, and he can actually hand out these Walker's crisps or these Walker's crisps and a sandwich and so on. So, and that was Sonny and Milo who did that work, but. And then I know at the time Diane Lever, Simon Rice were doing a package holiday things, which was a brilliant interactive poster campaign. I couldn't find any reference for it. So many. You end up with the ones you can find reference for, can't you? But there's many.
Was that for Walkers as well? And of course these are not just posters. They film them, then they become content and stunt. We did that. The one where you had to piece together the words to find locations of where to go on holiday. Yes. And there was a stunt out of home where you had to make the shape of the. I've got that. I'll put that on the feed.
My wife Diane Lever and Simon Rice who did that campaign.
Brilliant.
Apparently it was extraordinarily successful.
So we did all of the creative technology on that at Grand Visual. So I'll put that on the feed as well because that's a phenomenal piece of work. It was
brilliant.
Infrared camera. You have to make the shapes because basically you would buy the packets of crisps and then you would get a letter in there, but there would be some very rare letters that would help complete your word, and you could turn up to this experiential space. You would make it was a interactive game. You make the shape of the P, and it would basically drop out a P for you.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. I mean, there's so many.
Did you say another behind the billboard thing I wasn't aware of? That so you married to a creative.
Yes. Yeah.
So is your household a never-ending that shit? I wouldn't have done that.
Exactly.
Look at the kerning on that side.
Exactly. Yeah. Di was there at AMV before me.
So is she really the brains?
Paul, yes.
We should have had Di.
Paul, yeah.
Whose box of awards in the loft is bigger?
Oh, Dan, don't start that.
God knows. Yeah. God, no. There's tons of them, and. Yeah, so but we can't put them out on show. And
Di, he's gone a bit quiet. If you're listening, Di, he's gone a bit quiet and sheepish now.
But Di was there before me, and I was just thinking of all the stories when we got together and how everyone would normally make fun of you and they'd have this big thing where you'd have be a couple of the year, and then they'd totally embarrass you.
I think we've basically just lined up our next guest, our first husband and wife guest combo.
Would she come on?
I don't know. She's very
okay.
She'd need a lot of
flapjacks. You need to bake something better than flapjacks for that.
And then, favourite ad as well. So we're on to the favourite ad.
Favourite Billboard.
So I'm butting in because Dan's going, hurry up. So anyway. So
Dan's got his coat on.
Okay, yeah, thanks anyway. So, the one I wanted to put there from my favourite at AMV, and one of my all-time favourites was the GE and National Gallery ad with all the
No, we would let you
flowers.
Put that on, but Anna might have done it. But please let us mention it because it's an amazing piece of work.
Yeah, just wanted to, because it is a person.
You can have that one. We have to take its Frothy man off.
This one, if I had to choose one as well, no. But if I'm going to put this on because that was one that came to mind while I was at AMV.
Yes,
and then this one, I was thinking, well, what is my favorite? There's so many
it's impossible.
On there.
It's
I thought,
virtually impossible.
This one we're looking at, it's for Creston. It says it's Frothy Man, and I remember this poster when I must have been, I don't know, very young anyway. I don't know whether I'd have been 15 or something, hanging around by the local fish and chip shop, getting free batters. I mean, how unhealthy is that? There was not, I basically go and play football in the day and everything was done. You kind of, you go, well, that doesn't cost anything. Go and play football, then go around and we got hang around by the chip shop.
Yeah.
And this poster was always in there. And I think when I look at that poster now, I think, wow. Actually, I was a bit dumb because I didn't spot that I should go into advertising. But I looked at it and I thought, well, it is a cartoon. Yep. It's got this caption. It's got this amazing illustration, this simple illustration. Again, I explored being an illustrator first. And so I probably got obsessed and thought, wow, how did they do that illustration? Even the background on it is a bit like Charming Baker, the artist, all the little circles in the background. So I remember fondly this poster way before I was anywhere near advertising. I mean, it took many years before I'd explored getting football out of my system, becoming an artist, becoming an illustrator. I think, by the time I'd got to about 24, I thought, maybe I should go into advertising. Well, it's almost 10 years later.
You realise the football dream was over.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a classic because it's 3 lines. It's beautifully put together. Like you said, it's got the product, but he's just holding it, so he didn't have to have another product pack shot. It's all very seamless and just. It's
also you didn't realise it was inspiring you back then, and that's the joy in a poster, right?
Right, and then we're gonna have another poster.
Yeah, this isn't actually a poster. It's
we're gonna make that happen though.
To sum up.
Totally.
Just to sum up, that basically, and recently Mark Denton was, I think, he said he was going through all of his files, and I don't know whether he was kind of binning them all or filing them all.
Digitising them all.
All of his posters. And to every one of them, I go, God, that poster influenced me. It's one brilliant poster after another that I could easily have put. I just thought, I can't choose the best one for Mark Denton. And so I've just mocked up this poster to say anything in Mark Denton's our portfolio I would probably love. We're looking at something that I've made into a portfolio as a poster, but I've deliberately as well put some really basic type on there, which I know someone's going to tell Mark Denton about, and he's going to look at that type and think, what should I do there? Maybe he'll leave it.
I think it'll also be the jaunty angle you've put the sticker at.
Jaunty, very good. Very
the idea was that it should be almost like you've left your portfolio in reception for someone. So I've gone, it's on a bit of white. It's a white sticker with some basic type. Stick it on. You've left your portfolio.
Well, I'm definitely here for this, for the brinkmanship of this kind of stuff on our podcast.
I mean, just as a point, I was only talking to Bertie and John the other day at Specsavers about a project I'm still involved with, and we were talking about how we could do it, blah blah blah, and we all went, "Oh, remember what Denton used to do for Nike?" And we went through it again and again. I mean, this is stuff. It's like 20, 30 years old. Anyway, so that's wonderful. Lovely way to finish.
Mark, again, is alumni, and he listens in, so he will 100% see that, and we will tag him on that slide.
Now, well, I've probably given it away all this time because we've been long time friends, but he probably doesn't know quite how big a fan I am.
That's really sweet.
And then any tips that you wanted? I think we've touched on cartoons, which are kind of interesting, but also just looking at good work. If you look at good work, it rubs off on you. So I still think. True. For posters anyway, the D&AD annual is probably the easiest thing to get your hands on because it's all vetted. Yeah. The work in there is going to be of a good quality that's got, it's well crafted and there's good ideas.
Also, behind the billboard, website and Instagram feed. There's some good stuff on there.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah. What was that again, Hugh?
Behind the billboard. Paul, thank you, mate. Honestly, if it's been, I reckon we could have done 3 episodes out of this. We're certainly going to ask your wife if she would come on. But thank you. It's been such a pleasure. And hearing so many brilliant stories. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Wow.
I felt like we were talking quickly.
Yeah, we had to.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
The thing is,
I really love him.
When we had Suter on, because Peter can talk quickly and he knows because I think Suter's versed in it. Whereas bless Braze. Thank you, by the way, Braze, when you're listening. That
Absolutely
was amazing.
He just said to us on the way out that that was his first podcast. So we are honoured.
Yeah. And Dave Dye noted...
yeah, he said he's on Dave Dye next. So Dave, he's waiting for
Dave, he's ready. He's outside your house, mate. That was brilliant. I mean, God, like we said, we could have done twice the amount. We could have talked more. When we finished at the end, there was a whole load of Wolves and Arsenal banter about how Paul is a lifelong Wolves fan, but when he moved to Islington,
he couldn't get up to Wolves, and
so he's become an Arsenal fan. Then you asked him about what it was like Wolves Arsenal when that turns up.
Yeah, and he is. He said it used to be the point where he would worry that Wolves would get beat 7-8-0 by the Arsenal, but now he's worried that Arsenal are going to get beat by them. Yeah, which is good to hear.
But it was great. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of how much brilliant work Paul has done, either as a writer, creative director,
and impacted. When you think about all the teams in the 28 years of AMV who have worked into him. It's just incredible, that, and I think he does himself a bit of an injustice there when he's like the work, the craft of the stuff that he had done early career, and how that's impacted the people that worked into him in the latter part of the AMV years. Is incredible, and I think he needs to take more credit for the work that he's.
I think very humble man.
Over.
Yeah, very humble, and also just then saying, "Oh, I should have talked about all the other people who did visual stuff on The Economist." Well, there were, we've talked to
we've covered lots of it as well,
and Dave. So don't worry about that, mate. I mean, I actually think the Shredder was one of the. It wasn't the one, maybe it was. I don't know, but it was just that beginning of that movement, slightly away from just the headlines, and fair play, and the amount of craft gone into that. It's very, very fun.
The Guinness one was incredible.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that ad.
Yeah.
Even when I looked at those Guinness foot pints at Christmas, I'd forgotten about that ad. Yeah. So seeing it come up when we were looking through the deck, I was like,
well, I wonder what happens to things like that. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
I honestly think in the department you're looking through you are aware of all of the Guinness ads over the course of history and go, well, actually, there is something here. I can riff off that.
And it's fucking cool. I mean, kudos to the team for doing that. We should try and find out a bit more about that project, but it's it's very cool. Anyway, listen, we need to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, we do need to thank our sponsors. Grand Visual, my company, who are kindly donating.
I love your company
to keep us going, and Talent as well. So they are obviously part of the same group. So thank you to our main sponsors there, and to Soho Radio for hosting us here at the wonderful.
Thank you, Rachel and Adrian and everyone involved. And
Hugh's now taken to paying Rachel in
flapjacks.
In flapjacks.
Yeah. So if the money does run out, we have got a backlog. Okay. See you next time.